I am going to start with an example of what not to do. And then we're going to start making inferences about what you should do. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to be completely transparent about what I'm certain of, what I'm uncertain of, what I think is going to work for you and you and you. I once went to a gym where a certain tall, handsome, self-confident white man was trying to seduce a sort of typically skinny Chinese woman. And there was a big language barrier between them. And this white guy, from the minute he walks into the room, you can tell he's been working out at the gym. He's been lifting weights at least since the age of 16, and he is now 26. He knows how to use every piece of equipment in the gym. He's probably got trophies on his wall. He's won from numerous athletic competitions. And his method of seducing this Chinese woman was to feign ignorance, to pretend to be helpless, to pretend to be stupid, to pretend that he needed her assistance, encouragement, and because she barely spoke English and he barely spoke Chinese, this was about as subtle as a bear in heat. You know what I mean? This method of seduction, I'm watching it from across the room. Like, I'm lifting weights, I'm working out at the same gym, and I'm seeing this happen. I'm just like, I'm wondering, how much worse is this going to get? Now, turned out the Chinese woman who was above 30 years old, she was older than 30, was a virgin. She had never had a boyfriend. And I found this out because this guy put all this time and all this effort into finally seducing her into just having lunch with him. If it was lunch or coffee, I don't even think it was dinner as a date. And she managed to communicate this to him. And then he turned to me and he was like, "Look, bro, you take over." And it's kind of sweet and demented at the same time, because she had explained to him that she really needs to be with a morally good man, with someone she respects. And she described the kind of morality, the kind of upstanding character she's looking for. And this guy, who I would say was better looking than me, by the way, he was more athletic than me. Matter of taste, obviously. But he was coming to me saying pretty directly, "Look, I'm a scumbag. You're a good guy. This woman is trying to lose her virginity with someone she has respect for. It should be you, not me." And I replied, not in precisely these words, "That's where you're wrong." Okay. I have been in this situation many times in which women feign ignorance, feign helplessness. They act like they don't know what's going on. They act like they don't know what to do. And they act like they're impressed and overwhelmed by the situation. And they kind of paw me and say, "Wow, you know what to do. You explain it to me." This kind of thing. Okay? Anyone in the audience been in this situation before? Anyone in the chat want to volunteer there? I have been in that situation again and again and again. And you might think, in a rational, detached way, you would say, "Well, look, don't you feel flattered? Don't you feel seduced? Don't you feel turned on? Don't you realize in that moment when the woman is doing this to you, this woman likes me. This woman is trying to, it's not even that she's not trying to impress me. It's the opposite of trying to impress me. She is trying to make herself available to me. She is trying to make me feel like I'm in charge. She's trying to facilitate my seduction of her, right? Don't you feel flattered, drawn in? Don't you feel happy? No. Every single time I feel weirded out, I feel perplexed, I feel even kind of revolted and disgusted. And my point is here, just very briefly, if the genders are reversed, or we could be talking about two gay men trying to see each other, whatever the combination is. But, why do you think that would work any better when the man is playing that role in relation to the woman? Okay. It's probably not worth my explaining to you why this train of thoughts came to me the other day. But I stopped and reflected that I think what worked best for me in life, the times when I really had the opportunity to be doing numbers, to be sleeping with significant numbers of women. Okay. Point one, I was in a situation where I really did know what was going on. I really was an expert in what was going on. I really had expertise. I really had a very good command of these situations. I had a good understanding. I had a better understanding of what was going on than the other people around me. I'm going to give some examples. So I wasn't faking that. I wasn't pretending to know what I was doing. And I wasn't faking in the opposite direction. I wasn't feigning incompetence, feigning confusion, or feigning like I don't know what's going on. Okay. But in contrast to the other people around me, I was acting more enthusiastic, more self-confident about what it was we were going to do, what the situation was that we were in. And it's very difficult to describe the way in which that draws people in, lets them get to know you, you get to know them. It creates a sort of overall situation of trust. When a woman pretends to be helpless, pretends to be ignorant, and my first example was a man pretending to be helpless, ignorant, I see you're trying to create trust by, in effect, saying, help me, help me, help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm useless, you're useful, so help me. And that this is going to lead to romance. This is going to lead to some kind of sexual connection. But when I'm saying what worked for me, and I wasn't doing this intentionally, I wasn't trying to seduce people, was instead showing to the people around me, hey, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is a wonderful situation. Do you realize what a thrilling situation this is that we're in? So I'm at an ancient archaeological site in Thailand. And there's a group of white people. And they say to me, just some conversational starter, hey, how's it going, mate? Or I don't know, some nonsensical, hey, how's it going? Or maybe they even ask me if I'm going to the bar or the nightclub or something. Ask me something, which is no. And, with questions, and my answer isn't just a generic, yeah, what's up? It's all right. But my answer is, wow, it's not every day I get to see the sunset over a 1,000-year-old piece of Hindu architecture, and I'm not playing dumb, and I'm not trying to pwn them. I'm not trying to act like I know more than you, and I'm enthusiastic and I'm happy. And what this is communicating is, hey, do you even realize what a great situation we're in? Do you even realize, what's going on? And are you guys coming from the museum, or are you on your way there next? Because in terms of where this monument is. And of course, the response is, I didn't even know that was 1,000 years old. I just walked past that. I had no idea what the significance of that was. I didn't know there was a museum. These people are, they're wandering around trying to be tourists, but they're not even that good at it. And now all of a sudden they realize, hey, we're all in this kind of really interesting, wonderful situation together, Now, okay, some of you may say, well, all right, that's a really unique situation where you've, kind of been living the life of the mind. You have all this knowledge of history and politics and Buddhism and philosophy and maybe architecture and museums, whatever that you're bringing this situation. But on the one hand, I think this can be true of something as simple as a sunset, where, you make people aware, just kind of, isn't it wonderful? It's really not every day that standing on this cliff, you get to see this, it doesn't have to be something that's culturally complex, where you make people aware, hey, we're here together in this moment, in this rare unique and wonderful situation. And then they appreciate it and they appreciate you, and you start to relate to each other, in a different way. And then the other point I make is this. Yeah, cultural complexity. Your personal sophistication. How are you going to demonstrate your sophistication and what kind of person you are, ethically, intellectually, even aesthetically, without putting yourself intentionally again and again into situations where whatever it is you have sophisticated knowledge, whatever it is you're kind of a master of or passionate about, or even just an enthusiastic hobby, where that isn't, where that's demonstrated to the utmost. Now, I grew up in Toronto, Canada. As you will have guessed, I spent time all around the world, living in different. Okay, not all. It's never all around the world. Never lived in South America. Never lived in Africa. I've lived in many countries, many different cultural contexts around the world. Going to a nightclub, going to a pub, going to a bar, like you're really putting yourself in the worst possible context for this kind of positivity emerge. We can get into a lot of shallow observations here, like, okay, it's too loud to have a conversation, whatever. Yeah. At a bar, are you going to show off that you have a really good understanding of different brands of alcohol? Is that how you want people to know you? Is that how you want people to think about you? Right? You see the problems we're dealing with here already? Are you going to, and again, I'm being honest with you. I never tried to impress people in these situations. I never tried to seduce people. Okay? When I was at Cambridge University, on Cambridge University campus, so I wasn't a student there. I was married, and my wife was a student there. And nevertheless, all these women wanted to sleep with me, women other than my wife. Very often I'd walk into a situation where every single other person there is like, oh, I have to attend this academic colloquium. It's another one of these, academic events. And I kind of sort of have to be here, or I feel I have to be here, and I didn't want to be here. They would rather be at home playing video games or something. They feel like, this is of no meaning. And if I just show up with this same positive attitude, like, don't you realize how wonderful it is to be standing in front of a 1,000-year-old temple at sunset? Don't you realize how wonderful is this thing you're looking at? I show up at that same event with the attitude like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, guys. Don't you realize what we've got gathered together here? Again, whatever the particular event is, you can say something. Say, if you add up how many years of research each of these people have done, in this field on stage, that's about 300 years of expertise up on stage there. Do you realize, in the history of the last 100 years, there's never been a gathering of minds of this world. There's never going to be one again. Do you realize how wonderful this is? You realize what's going on. You realize we're all here to go. And, I really grew up in this unique period of time, the Kurt Cobain AIDS epidemic, pessimistic period of time. It was a pessimistic period in terms of feminism, pop culture celebrating kind of phony cynicism and resignationism. Nobody wanting to try hard, nobody wanting to be ambitious, everyone wanting to act like they don't care, they're disaffected and disengaged and so on. And right, the fear of contracting a fatal, contagious disease through sex, kind of a big deal for my generation. It didn't last that long, right? So to show up at any kind of event, it's not even necessarily an event, to be in a situation where you are the person who has that kind of positivity, based on your own real understanding of what's wonderful, of what's going on. Again, not playing dumb, not acting like, wow, I'm really overwhelmed or I'm really impressed because I don't know what's going on here, and not exaggerating your level of sophistication, your level of understanding, but just really sharing with people that you understand how special this day is or this hour is, you know, and then that sense of, hey, we're all in this moment together. And who are you? This is about meeting people and talking to people for the first time, presumably, or maybe it's someone who's seen you around before, they recognize you, but you never really had a conversation, you never really got to know each other. I'd like to write a book titled "The Future of Honesty." Anyone would tell you, if you want to do numbers, if you want to get laid with large numbers of people, the most reliable method is by telling a lie, right? I have known several men who slept with large numbers of women simply by telling the women whatever they wanted to hear. This means in practice, the man would tell the woman what he imagines she wanted to hear. And one of these guys was a friend of mine. We were good friends for a short time. I remember he described to me that he would just lie there in the hotel bed laughing after he'd had sex with a woman. He was referring to a specific woman. He'd been through this scenario many, many times. And the woman would say to him with disbelief, "You mean you told me that just to have sex with me?" He would laugh and laugh. He'd throw his head back and laugh. "You mean you lied to me?" It's not true. Like that when this was revealed after the fact, he would just throw his head back and laugh and would scoff at them openly. I saw a YouTube video today. I clicked through it. In the old days, you say I fast forwarded or something. We don't click around with the mouse. I only saw a few minutes of this. It was a young woman. I honestly don't know her age. Let's say she's 25 or something. Not that young. And she was talking about her experience being autistic. She's high functioning autistic on dating apps. And she anticipated this herself. She said, "Look, I know a lot of people in the audience are going to say, no, that's exactly the same if you're not autistic. It's the same for all women. It's the same for all men." She says, "But no, this is part of her experience as an autistic person." And what she described was men taking advantage of her, telling what they want to hear, and then after they have sex with her, or after they've had the particular kind of sex acts they were trying to talk her into, then ghosting her and never talking to her again. It's like, that whatever was she felt had been promised on the other side didn't come through. And we don't get to hear the man's side of the story. Maybe he felt he was promised something that didn't come through. We don't know. There could be a broken heart on both sides that we don't know. But she feels she's being manipulated and lied to and slept with and discarded again and again. And, obviously, maybe her experience due to autism, maybe it is different. I don't know. But obviously, I think there were a lot of women in the audience saying that they're in no way mentally disabled and have had this experience again and again and again. Under what conditions are you honest with people? When can you be honest? If you can only be honest with someone, when you're drunk, you've got a problem. You've got a big, big problem. If you can only be honest with someone when they're ugly, I know a lot of guys like this. Any woman who's halfway attractive, they go into this lying, flirting, manipulating mode. And then you see, like, this could be a coworker you have or something. Then you see a woman who's maybe 20 years older than himself and ugly or something. He behaves completely differently with her. He's honest with her. But any woman who's young enough or pretty enough, he can't be honest. He's so conditioned to try to lie, try to fascinate women. You know what I mean? And, the use of the mobile phone app of this kind of technology is never before. You can copy and paste the same answers. You can use the same text. You can use the same tricks. I've said this before. This isn't the first video in which I've said this. For me, being honest is easy because I have a lot of practice. Okay? If you want to get laid, if you want to have, hopefully meaningful, hopefully wonderful sexual connections with other people, you normally find out after. You try to have a sexual connection with someone. Maybe afterwards you find out how meaningless it's going to be. Maybe you find out how tragic or sad it is. Can't promise you. I can't promise you meaningful. I can't promise you won't get your heart broken. But if you want to do numbers, if you want to have connection with people, and you do not want those intimate personal relationships to be based on a lie, how is that going to happen? How are you going to do it? Okay, so this is my answer for you. If you're a man, have you ever once in your life been attracted to a woman because she had really expensive shoes? Ever once? So why the fuck are you trying to seduce women by having expensive shoes? Okay. Signs of affluence, signs of success. Okay. What people really care about are signs of sophistication. That can include signs of good taste, signs of being well dressed, but tokens of wealth and social status are only very indirect ways of communicating to people that you are sophisticated, that you have redeeming intellectual qualities, redeeming ethical qualities. So what I'm suggesting here is a much more direct approach where you understand something. There's something you've developed a really high level of sophistication in. And then you put yourself in that situation where you can sincerely, genuinely be uplifting and optimistic, toward others. Now, again, I'm going to be honest with you. I think at a nightclub, it's impossible. I think in a yoga class, it would be laughable. I don't think you can do it at the gym. I don't think you can show up at the gym for yoga class and be like, hey guys, don't you realize what a wonderful yoga lesson this is today, and know all the Sanskrit vocabulary, and then be the most enthusiastic person in the yoga class. And maybe everyone else in the yoga class is, like I described being a Cambridge. Oh my God, I'm gonna drag myself to this yoga class again. There really are situations in which you can't win. I definitely, do not think a man can do this by having a sophisticated appreciation for video games. I don't think you're going to pick up women at the video game store by showing that you're really enthusiastic, in that way. But, Melissa's here. Melissa, you went to at least one Bernie Sanders rally that I remember. So this is back in the day when there was a possibility of Bernie Sanders being president, like not the current situation. Right. Can you imagine, so people are going to be there with different attitudes. Can you imagine if because obviously most people there are complete strangers. If you had gone there with this attitude, look, I've read Bernie Sanders' book. I know his platform. I really understand the politics. I really understand the economics. And, don't you guys realize what an amazing moment in history this is? Even if Bernie Sanders loses, that we were all here together at this moment. We were at this moment when America stood up and demanded a $15 an hour minimum wage and demanded healthcare reform, demanded that we catch up with Europe in terms of those things. The thing is, I'm not talking about a specific line. I'm not talking about a specific approach or specific conversation starter. But when you put yourself, in the company of a bunch of people who are either complete strangers or barely know you that way, and you are the person with a sophisticated understanding of what's going on, right? And again, it's not phony optimism. It's that you really have an appreciation for how wonderful this is. Maybe they do too, but it wasn't at the top of their mind. Maybe they wrote studios down. They realized, oh yeah, you're right. This is something really wonderful. Again, I would suggest to you, if there had been a man there with that attitude, if there had been someone there at that rally with that same attitude, who was really, and again, it could be someone who even said, look, Bernie Sanders has no chance of winning the election. There's absolutely no way he's going to win. There's no way he's going to beat Joe Biden or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But you know what? Isn't this an amazing, wonderful thing? That we're, if they're just appreciate it positively that way, it can be the start of a conversation. It could be the start of could be the start of a romantic relationship. Could be the start of a friendship that lasts the rest of your life. Yeah. So Melissa has never seen me pick up a woman at an art gallery. Okay. But Melissa has gone with me to several museums. It's a happy memory for me. I'm not making fun of her. But I can remember I went to one art gallery with you, and the room that was the most memorable to me was when we went into the abstract expressionist hall. This is, predominantly American paintings, but some Western European painters. This would be the same kind of art you'd see at the Guggenheim, disproportionately and so on. And, Rothko is on the wall, and Jackson Pollock. I think Clifford Still is on the wall. And, you were kind of scoffing at how preposterous this was. These paintings at the wall. And then you were very shocked. I knew the names of the painters. I knew the historical significance of these paintings. In several cases, I knew the political significance. I said, oh no, this painting is actually about the Spanish Civil War. This is Motherwell. It's an abstract painting, but actually this is about the Civil War in Spain, the struggle between communism and fascism and democracy and anarchy or whatever. That's actually what this painting is about. Again, if you don't, it's just a bunch of blobs. It's just a bunch of colors on a canvas. It's not figurative art, and I think I did share with you my appreciation for it and my things. No, again, I wasn't trying to pick up Melissa. That was just being Melissa at the gallery. I wasn't, but I think you can imagine there are other people. If there were other people around, if there's a crowd there, how that affects people, how that brings people together. At least opens the door to some kind of positive conversation. Melissa, you have also been with me to several museums that have collections of ancient Buddhist art, ancient Buddhist statues or what have you. Hard to be quite as positive with that, but you've been in situations where I have some kind of, sophisticated appreciation for it. So, I just say, okay. I think there's even an argument that when we went to stand-up comedy clubs and I was just in the audience, that I was not on stage performing, just the way in which it was clear to everyone, because I chit-chatted with the comic on stage, it was clear, oh, this guy has a sophisticated appreciation for comedy. And people didn't even know who I was or what it was. They came up and asked, but they knew somehow, this guy is involved in comedy. This guy cares about it. And we didn't make any friends for life. But, my point is this. You might think of sitting in the audience at a comedy show as just as isolating as sitting at home and playing video games. But if you have that kind of sophistication, you demonstrate that to others, and you're positive about it. You're like, hey, this is kind of something wonderful. Here we all are, on Manhattan Island, with these talented people who've come together, if you're appreciating that, that's my suggestion. And again, I think it has to be built on honesty. We're living through a period of time when the rewards for dishonesty are so many and so great, and the rewards for honesty are so few, and so weak. So yeah, buy my new book coming summer of 2024, The Future of Honesty.